Bon après-midi tout le monde. Good afternoon. Thank you, Laura, for that warm introduction. And thanks to you and Mark and the entire Goodyear team for being here today. Je suis très content d'être ici à Napanee en présence d'une compagnie, d'une grande défenseuse des travailleurs canadiens, notre bonne ministre Mary Ng, Minister of International Trade, et le député de Kingston et les Îles, Mark Gerritsen. It's also great to be joined once again by Premier Ford Doug. Always good to be making an announcement with you and Vic Fideli and the broader team. Also want to recognize the Chief of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, Chief Maracle. Thank you so much, Chief, for being here today. Mayor Terry Richardson, Reeve John Wise, you guys are great to have you here. Thank you for welcoming us to this beautiful community. But I have to say, we're not here today because of a federal government investment. We're not here today because of a provincial government investment. We're not here because of the work that Goodyear has done around here. We are here because of one group of people, specifically and only, and it's all of you associates. The reason Goodyear has chosen to invest here even more is because of the tradition of excellence that has been showcased here in Napanee for over 30 years now. If we are here today making this announcement at all, it's because of incredible Canadian workers like all of you across the country who are committed to building a brighter future, to strengthening their communities and being part of an extraordinarily strong economy. Thank you for being here and for allowing us all to be here today and interrupting your day of work, but go make up the productivity afterwards, guarantee it. But before I get into this announcement, I do want to talk about something else that has been on my mind, on all of our minds over the past couple of weeks. Canadians have been cheering loudly and proudly for the Olympics. And with the Olympics ending yesterday, I think we really need to, first of all, recognize all our Canadian athletes, not just the gold medal winners, but everyone who stepped up to showcase Canadians at our very best on the world stage. But when we cheer for the Olympics, and Canadians don't do a good enough job of cheering for ourselves day in and day out, but boy oh boy, every few years we sure step up on cheering the Olympics. And yes, it's about cheering our extraordinary young athletes, but it's also about cheering for ourselves. These kids who trained across the country in small communities, waking up early hours, supported by friends and neighbors and community offices and businesses, supported by great coaches and trainers, people who come in from around the world to push Canadian excellence, do it with one goal: to try and stand on top of the podium and wave that Canadian flag and hear that Canadian anthem. So when we are celebrating our Olympians, we're also celebrating everything we've done as a society, not just to support them directly, but to create the opportunities for millions of kids to get involved in sports, to compete, to dream of representing their country at the highest level, and to drive through their success that way. So over the past 2 weeks, we've been cheering on the greatest country in the world through our athletes. We need to remember we should be cheering for Canada, not just on the Olympic stage, but when we bring in great announcements like this, when we see the work that Canadians are doing right across the country in building the future, in showcasing our excellence across the world, this is what is exciting. So as we celebrate the end of the Olympics and the beginning of the Paralympics, we need to continue remembering we're celebrating Canadians every single day. That's what we need to do as Canada. We need to do more of, and that's what we're going to keep doing. The announcement of today. For decades, the auto sector has been one of the drivers of the Canadian economy. Le secteur automobile, c'est l'une des plus importantes sources d'exportation. L'an dernier, il a ajouté 18 milliards de dollars à notre PIB, and it creates good paying, fulfilling, and community-building work for Canadians, for over 500,000 Canadians from coast to coast to coast. And yet, when we took over from the Conservative government, this sector was in decline. Jobs were fleeing abroad. Companies were choosing to invest elsewhere. That was not inevitable. That was not just how the world is going, and we are proof of that here today. See, every government has choices. And after a lost decade under federal conservative rule, our government chose a different path. On a vu que l'économie mondiale était en transformation. On a vu que pendant qu'on s'efforçait à lutter contre la crise climatique et à offrir de l'air pur, il fallait passer aux voitures à essence, aux voitures électriques. Et donc, on a agi en investissant. We chose to back our auto workers and invest in the future of the industry. And the results speak for themselves. In just the last 4 years, we've attracted over $46 billion worth of investments across the EV supply chain, from mines to assembly lines. Rio Tinto, General Motors, Northvolt, Volkswagen, Honda, and so many more. These global leaders recognize all that Canada and Canadians have to offer. Abundant clean energy and a commitment to serious climate action, access to critical minerals and other natural resources, stable and reliable democratic institutions, strong trade relationships spanning every corner of the globe, and most importantly, the best workers in the world. As I'm out making a pitch for Canada internationally, yes, we talk about our resources. We talk about having more trade deals than just about anyone else. We're the only G7 economy with a free trade deal with every other G7 economy. But our single greatest competitive advantage is Canadians themselves. Companies from around the world are trying to connect with the reliable, educated, ambitious, serious workforce that we have right across the country. And that's why companies like Goodyear, who have places all around the world, say, yeah, you know what? We're doubling down on our investments in Canada. We know that Canadians will deliver in this changing world. We're the reliable bet. That's why we've seen foreign direct investment massively spike over the past years. As companies are coming to invest in Canada, it's because of all of you. So keep it up. The future is in good hands. See, when we present these list of facts to global investors, their choice ends up being simple. They choose Canada, they choose Canadians. And today, yet another global leader is doing exactly the same. With support from the Government of Canada, Goodyear is expanding and modernizing this facility to produce tires specially made for electric vehicles. Goodyear's more than $575 million investment will create and maintain hundreds of good-paying, sustainable jobs right here in Napanee, all while ensuring they reach net zero by 2040. And on top of that, they're investing back in Canadian research and development so that Canada remains a global EV leader for decades to come. Today, Goodyear is like countless other auto leaders putting its faith in Canadian workers. They know that Canada is the place to invest, to lead the global energy transformation, and that's why they're stepping up and doing their part in building a strong, resilient economy here in Canada, now and for decades to come. Because that's what this announcement is all about. It's not just about, making a few more tires here, although 2 million more tires is a very good thing. It's about the jobs that Goodyear is going to be relying on and that folks in these communities can rely on. I spoke with Hannah earlier, she's down on the end there in red. She's a second-generation worker here at Goodyear. There are young people here who are third generations, whose parents and grandparents were part of this plant going back to the late 80s. This investment, at a time where people are worried that the global competition for jobs is increasing, this investment, this confidence in Canada and in Canadians means there's not just going to be a fourth generation of tire workers here in Goodyear, in Napanee. It means there's going to be a fifth and sixth and seventh generation. It means people are going to be building things here in Canada that are adjusted to the way the world needs. The world's changing with EVs. So making tires for electric vehicles. By the way, why do we need electric vehicle tires that are different? Well, electric vehicles are heavier, they have more torque, so they have more resistance in the wheel, and they need to be quieter. When the loudest thing on a car is not the engine, but the tires, the kind of innovation that Goodyear is doing is more and more important. And when a company is looking for how it's going to play a solid role for coming decades, they're looking for safe, solid investments to make in places like Canada, in workers like Canadian workers. So once again, today's announcement proves what our government has said for a long time. The good, responsible climate policy is good, responsible economic policy. Indeed, you can't have a plan for the future of our economy if you don't have a plan to fight climate change. And look, we all know full well that the Conservative Party of Canada has no plan to fight climate change. But it's also increasingly obvious that they have no plan for the economy either. Pierre Poilievre has been clear. He will cut these investments in Canada's future and cut jobs for Canadian workers because he will invest in workers and in the future. See, every government, every leader has choices. We've chosen to invest in Canadians, invest in workers, invest in our future. Poilievre has chosen to write off Canada's auto sector, to let good middle-class jobs disappear, to let down Canadian workers. Our government will never let that happen. On va toujours être du côté des travailleurs canadiens et du secteur de l'automobile. On va toujours investir dans des emplois durables et payants, pas seulement dans les prochaines années, mais pour les prochaines générations. Confident countries invest in themselves and in their workers. That's the choice we will always make. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau. Canada is a key part of Goodyear's global operations. The country's innovation-driven environment and skilled workforce have been integral to our success. Likewise, Ontario has played a pivotal role for Goodyear. It's the home of our Canadian office and, of course, our Napanee plant. The province's robust infrastructure, skilled labor force, and supportive business environment have been instrumental in enabling Goodyear to thrive and innovate. Together, we have worked toward creating jobs and contributing to the region's economic prosperity. Now, will you please welcome the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Laura, for that introduction. And I'm thrilled to be back here in the beautiful Greater Napanee alongside my champion of all champs, the #1 salesperson, Vic Fideli. I know he travels around the world and is attracting companies, and also the local champion, Rick Racine. And Prime Minister, I want to thank you and Minister Ng on your entire team, as well as Chief Miracle. Chief, I know we were talking on the phone last week, and great to see you, Mayor Richardson, Warden Wise, and the County of Lennox and Addington. Today's announcement is another great example of all levels of government, of everyone coming together to support local businesses and workers and to help create better jobs and bigger paychecks. I also want to thank Mark and everyone from Goodyear for hosting us today. I want to thank your associates. As I always tell Vic, our #1 selling feature anywhere in the world are the people of Ontario. I'll put our folks against anyone anywhere in the world. We have the best of the best, and great seeing everyone, and let's keep going. Goodyear has been a huge part of our province's auto industry for over a century. We've been so proud to have you as a partner and a team member of Team Ontario, employing thousands of hardworking people, supporting so many families, and becoming rooted in the communities you operate in. Thank you. Today's announcement marks another big milestone in Goodyear's ongoing success in Ontario. The company's more than $575 million investment which is supported by a $20 million investment from the province, will modernize and expand this facility here in Napanee to significantly scale our province's production of tires for electric and all-terrain vehicles. Once built and operational, this new expanded plant will employ more than 1,000 people and be a huge boost to our province's growing auto and EV industry. That's because here in Ontario, we're building an end-to-end EV supply chain, connecting our critical minerals in the north and clean steel manufacturers in Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie to automakers and parts and battery manufacturers across the province. And I'm so excited about the progress we're making. Over the past 4 years, Ontario has attracted more than $43 billion in electric vehicle and battery investments. We've welcomed new battery plants in Windsor, Alliston, and St. Thomas. Major investments from parts and component producers in Loyal's Township, Brantford, Port Colborne, and now in Napanee. And we're so proud that Ontario is now the only place in North America that has the 6th largest automakers called home. And friends, the world is taking notice. You know, we have become, Ontario, an economic powerhouse in North America. If we were a standalone country, and I never recommend that, Prime Minister, but if we're a standalone country, we'd be the U.S.'s 3rd largest trading partner in the world. We do $500 billion of two-way trade with the U.S. We're the #1 customer to 17 states, #2 to 13 states. So the world is watching, and again, the best asset we have are the people. Earlier this year, Canada surpassed China in Bloomberg's global battery supply chain rankings. This is the first time ever China has been unseated from the top spot. Companies are investing in Ontario because of this growing supply chain, because of the people. They're choosing Ontario because of the investments we're making in skills training, in energy infrastructure, and to build roads and highways. We're investing over $190 billion. Nowhere in North America can say that. $190 billion in roads, in highways, in bridges, in hospitals, in schools, and every other infrastructure, and broadband as well. And we just are going to keep moving forward on this. International companies are setting up shop here, and local companies are expanding because of our competitive business environment. I always say, you cannot tax your way to prosperity. It's never worked anywhere in the world. It doesn't work anywhere here, and we're going to make sure that we're still competitive, creating the environment for the people of Ontario to thrive and prosper and grow. Because of the work our government has done to cut red tape by over $1 billion a year, to reduce these costs of doing business by $8 billion each and every single year, and for cutting, not raising taxes on the people or businesses. We're the only government in the country that has never raised a tax since we've been in office. We will never raise a tax. We will see revenues grow by expanding companies like this and the $43 billion of EV expansion, $20 billion in tech, $3 billion in life sciences. And just think, last year, think of this stat here. I love this stat. So last year, the manufacturing of this province, folks like yourself, created more manufacturing jobs here in Ontario than all 50 U.S. states combined. Think of that. That's pretty staggering. And that's never been done before. But I'm going to be very frank, they're catching up to us, so we just got to keep going. It's 50 against 1, but we'll still hold our own. And folks, as the world continues to face economic and geopolitical uncertainty, here in Ontario, we're going to keep working hard to create the environment for businesses like Goodyear to thrive, prosper, and grow. And when companies thrive, prosper, and grow, so do their associates thrive, prosper, and grow. I have a very simple theory. You have two choices. Either put money back into the people's pocket, and they're going to be doing things they might otherwise not be able to do, as simple as going out for dinner, buying something that they might not be able to buy. The best place to do is put it in your pocket. The worst place to do is give your money to the government. Then when it comes to companies, same thing. You put money back into the company's pockets, they're going to invest in their people, into their infrastructure, into their technology, and that's how we thrive. We're going to keep the momentum going here in Ontario, attracting more EV and auto investments, and creating better jobs and bigger paychecks in every part of our province. Once again, I want to thank you, Goodyear, all your associates, Mark and Laura and your whole team, for your investments and for your continued confidence in our province and our workers. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much.